Imagine living in constant fear inside your own home, not because of a stranger breaking in, but because of your own child. A son who grew up under your roof, who would one day become your captor. This is the story of Derek Campos Lietz, the boy who terrified his own mother and whose violence would end in tragedy. Please, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. It helps me more than you know, and it keeps stories like this coming to you. Derek Lietz's name is forever linked to one of the most disturbing episodes of Evil Lives Here, titled My Son's Prisoner. It's a story told through the eyes of his mother, Shelley Lietz, who admits that for most of his life, she was afraid of her own son. From the outside, they looked like any ordinary family, but behind closed doors, tension and fear became part of their daily life, and Derek's behavior only grew darker as he got older. Derek's troubling behavior began almost as soon as he could walk and talk. Shelley recalls moments when his temper would erupt without warning, fits of anger that seemed far too intense for a child his age. At school, he struggled to follow rules. At home, he resisted even the simplest boundaries. His stepfather, Bob, tried enforcing strict household rules, but instead of bringing order, those rules often led to long, tense standoffs. One Christmas morning, Derek wanted to open his presents right away. Bob insisted he eat breakfast first. Derek refused and sat stubbornly at the table for hours. That moment became a symbol of their home life, a constant power struggle. Over time, Derek's defiance turned into destruction. He broke objects when he was upset, he screamed at his mother, slammed doors, and refused to listen to anyone. As Derek became a teenager, his outbursts became more dangerous. He punched walls. He threatened people. Shelley tried to excuse the behavior, telling herself it was just part of growing up, but the truth was she was terrified. According to viewers of Evil Lives Here, Derek's story sparked fierce debate. Some believed he might have been struggling with autism. Others were certain he showed signs of severe mental illness, possibly schizophrenia. But regardless of the cause, one thing was certain: there were no consistent consequences for his actions. The more Shelley gave in to keep the peace, the more power Derek realized he had. By adulthood, Derek's relationships outside the home were just as volatile. He met a young woman named Maisie McCullough, and the two had a child together. But their romance was turbulent, marked by arguments, separations, and reconciliations. In 2013, tragedy struck. Maisie was found dead, brutally murdered. The investigation led police directly to Derek. Evidence at the scene and on his clothing tied him to the crime. The community was shocked, but those closest to Derek weren't entirely surprised. Derek was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. In court, the details were harrowing. Prosecutors described a violent confrontation between Derek and Maisie, one that ended her life. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Derek pleaded guilty. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Not long after, Derek changed his name to Gabriel Campos. Today he's serving his sentence at the Green Bay Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. For Shelley Lietz, the nightmare didn't end with her son's conviction. She had lost her son to a prison cell, and her grandchild had lost both parents, one to murder, the other to incarceration. Viewers of the episode were quick to criticize her parenting. Many argued she had enabled Derek's behavior for years, allowing small acts of defiance to grow into uncontrollable rage. Others expressed heartbreak, seeing her as a mother trapped between love for her child and fear of what he had become. This story is more than just a true crime case. It's a cautionary tale about early intervention. Behavioral issues in children should never be ignored. When red flags appear, action must be taken, whether through therapy, medical evaluation, or community support. In Derek's case, the warnings were there, but without firm boundaries, professional help, and consistent consequences, the path he took seemed almost inevitable. Derek Campos Lietz, life is a chilling reminder that monsters aren't always strangers. Sometimes they're raised in the same house we sleep in. For Shelley Lietz, the memories of her son's dark transformation will haunt her for the rest of her life. For Maisie's family, the pain of losing her will never fully fade. When we hear a story like Derek's, it's easy to focus only on the crime, the moment everything finally snapped. But the truth is, tragedies like this rarely happen overnight. They are built over years, sometimes decades of unaddressed pain, poor decisions, and missed opportunities. Think about the smaller moments in Derek's life. Moments when a teacher noticed his temper, when a neighbor saw him lash out, when family members whispered their concerns. Every single one of those moments could have been a point of intervention, but each one passed without real change. Shelley's story forces us to face an uncomfortable truth. Love alone isn't enough to save someone. Without accountability, even love can turn into a shield, protecting harmful behavior instead of stopping it. In interviews after Derek's arrest, Shelley admitted she sometimes avoided confronting him because she feared making him angry. That fear became its own prison. A prison she lived in long before Derek ever stepped into a cell. For some viewers, this case is a warning to parents. Discipline isn't cruelty, it's protection. Setting boundaries, following through on consequences, and seeking professional help early could be the difference between a life turned around and a life sentence. For others, it's a call for better mental health resources, especially for families who feel out of control. Too often, parents don't know where to turn, and by the time help arrives, it's too late. Derek's story is over. Maisie's story ended far too soon. But the lessons remain. If you see someone struggling, if you notice the signs, act. Speak up. Intervene. Don't wait for the breaking point. What do you think could have changed this story's ending? Could earlier intervention have saved Maisie's life and Derek's future? Let me know in the comments. And please, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me keep telling these important stories. Until next time, stay safe